Most people spend years earning money yet never learn how money actually works beneath the surface. Consider this contrast. Education teaches professions, but rarely teaches how wealth grows, compounds, and quietly multiplies over decades. Why do intelligent, hardworking individuals still struggle financially, while others with similar income quietly build lasting wealth structures? The answer is not effort versus laziness, but knowledge versus absence of financial literacy embedded in daily decisions. In this episode, we break down why financial literacy is rare, tracing history, psychology, and structural gaps across modern systems. First, we examine how money knowledge evolved historically and why access remained limited across centuries and social structures. Next, we explore cognitive biases and emotional patterns that prevent people from learning or applying financial principles effectively. Finally, we uncover the core principle behind literacy gaps and how awareness reshapes long-term financial thinking patterns. In the modern world, financial decisions are constant, from spending to saving, yet formal education rarely addresses these daily choices. Compared to previous centuries, individuals now manage more complex financial systems involving credit, digital payments, and global markets. This complexity creates a gap where people participate in systems they do not fully understand, leading to predictable long-term outcomes. What if the issue is not intelligence, but exposure to the right concepts at the right stage of life? Financial literacy is less about information availability and more about structured understanding of cause and effect within money systems. This explains why access to knowledge alone does not guarantee behavior change or improved long-term financial outcomes. In ancient civilizations, financial knowledge was concentrated among merchants, rulers, and specialized classes controlling trade and resources. Around the year 1200, trade networks expanded, yet financial practices remained guarded within guilds and family structures. During the 15th century, banking systems emerged in Europe, but knowledge remained limited to elite networks and institutional participants. By the year 1720, early financial bubbles demonstrated how even participants lacked full understanding of market dynamics and speculation. The 19th century industrial era increased wages, yet education systems focused on labor skills rather than wealth-building concepts. In 1930, economic crises revealed widespread misunderstanding of debt, risk, and systemic financial structures among general populations. Despite modernization, financial literacy remained unevenly distributed, often inherited through families rather than taught universally in schools. This historical pattern shows a consistent structure: knowledge concentrated, participation widespread, and understanding uneven across different social layers. The result is a long-term gap where many engage in financial systems without mastering the underlying principles that drive outcomes. Financial literacy consists of multiple components, including understanding time, risk, behavior, and how systems evolve across decades. First component is time, where small decisions accumulate, grow, and compound into significantly different outcomes over extended periods. Second component is structure, where systems like income, expenses, and allocation interact continuously, creating predictable patterns of accumulation. Third component is behavior, where repeated actions rather than isolated decisions determine long-term financial trajectories. A common misconception is believing income alone determines wealth, when structure and behavior often create greater differences over time. Another myth suggests complexity equals intelligence, yet simple, consistent frameworks often outperform complicated, inconsistent approaches. Understanding these layers requires systems thinking, not isolated facts, which explains why traditional education struggles to deliver practical literacy. Financial literacy grows when individuals connect cause and effect across time rather than focusing only on immediate outcomes. The human brain prioritizes short-term rewards, making long-term financial thinking naturally difficult without deliberate awareness and structured habits. Fear and uncertainty trigger avoidance, causing individuals to delay learning about money systems despite their importance. Greed can also distort perception, leading to decisions driven by emotion rather than structured understanding of risk and probability. Cognitive biases such as overconfidence and herd behavior influence decisions, especially when individuals compare themselves to others. Patterns learned during childhood shape financial behavior, often unconsciously, reinforcing habits without critical evaluation or structured improvement. The brain seeks simplicity, yet financial systems are layered, creating friction between natural instincts and required understanding. This tension explains why knowledge alone does not translate into action without emotional alignment and behavioral consistency. Understanding these psychological elements reveals why financial literacy remains rare despite widespread access to information. The core principle is simple. Financial literacy emerges from structured thinking, not isolated tips or fragmented pieces of information. First, recognize that money is a system where inputs, outputs, and time interact continuously, creating measurable long-term outcomes. Second, understand that consistency often matters more than intensity, as repeated actions compound into significant differences over decades. Third, separate emotion from structure, ensuring decisions align with principles rather than temporary feelings or external comparisons. A major myth is believing wealth comes from sudden events, when in reality it often results from gradual accumulation. Another misconception suggests financial literacy requires advanced mathematics, while basic concepts applied consistently produce meaningful results. Next, focus on understanding relationships between decisions rather than memorizing isolated rules without context. Then, observe patterns over time, identifying how behaviors lead to outcomes, reinforcing structured thinking through experience. Finally, recognize that financial literacy is a process, evolving as systems, environments, and personal circumstances change. These elements form a framework that transforms understanding from fragmented knowledge into cohesive financial awareness. In a modern context, individuals interact daily with financial systems, often without recognizing the patterns shaping their outcomes. Consider how small, repeated decisions accumulate, creating divergence between individuals over years and decades. What if awareness alone begins shifting behavior, leading to gradual changes in how decisions are structured over time? The goal is not perfection, but alignment between actions and understanding, reducing friction between knowledge and behavior. This alignment creates momentum, where consistent patterns begin to produce visible long-term differences compared to inconsistent approaches. Over time, these patterns compound, reinforcing the importance of structure, awareness, and disciplined thinking within financial systems. Pause and consider how your current understanding of money was formed, and which patterns continue to influence your decisions today. What if the gap is not effort but structure, shaping outcomes quietly through repeated behaviors over extended periods? Imagine how awareness of these patterns could gradually reshape decisions without requiring sudden or dramatic changes. This reflection marks the beginning of understanding, where observation leads to clarity and clarity leads to intentional action. Financial literacy is rare, not because it is difficult, but because systems, psychology, and history limit structured exposure. Those who develop it understand patterns, think in systems, and recognize how small actions accumulate over time. The difference is not access to money, but access to understanding how money behaves within structured environments. This shift from earning to building defines the foundation of long-term financial awareness and disciplined thinking. When you understand the system, you begin to see outcomes not as random, but as results of consistent patterns. This is Wealth Lexicon, education only, not financial advice.